Hello everybody, this is AK. I'm back. So this video is about Singapore savings bonds, and this is something I've talked about on and off. And in a recent video, I said they have decided to continue buying Singapore savings bonds and think of it as a replacement for voluntary contribution to my CPF account. But of course, this idea is not anything new in the sense that I've blogged about how it's a no-brainer to buy Singapore savings bonds instead of doing voluntary contribution to CPF account whenever the 10-year average yield exceeds 3% per annum, right? Because if we do voluntary contribution to our CPF account, then the average interest that we get when we take into consideration how the money is split between OA, SA, and MA, the average interest we get is about 3% per annum, right? So if we were to buy Singapore savings bonds every time the 10-year average yield is higher than 3% per annum, it beats the doing voluntary contribution to our CPF account, right? Hands down. So that's what I've realized, and that's what I've been doing. And in the last auction, I managed to buy to get $22,000 worth of Singapore savings bonds, and that's of course 3.33% per annum in 10-year average yield. And in this upcoming auction, at the closing date, for anyone who's interested, is actually the 25th, which is a Tuesday, this Tuesday. So if you're interested, you might want to take note and place your order by Monday, which is 24th of June. That's when I'll be placing my order. Okay, so this upcoming auction, we're talking about 3.3% per annum in 10-year average yield Singapore savings bonds. So I've already gotten $22,000 last month. This month I will be putting in $16,000, and the total will be $38,000 for 2024. And then you might wonder, how come $38,000? What's so magical about it? Well, because that's the amount that we are allowed to do voluntary contribution or contribution to our CPF account. Mandatory but plus voluntary cannot exceed $37,740 per year, I think, right? Is the CPF annual limit. So since my purchase of Singapore savings bond is to replace that voluntary contribution on an annual basis, I've set an amount of $38,000 as an annual cap, right, for Singapore savings bonds myself, right? And that is already quite a substantial figure for me being a retiree, right? That is coming to almost 20% of my passive income on a yearly basis. So that's quite a bit of money for someone with no earned income, for someone who's unemployed like me. So I still want to keep money in my war chest, just in case Mr. Market goes into a depression and I have money to take advantage of that depression. So I still want to strengthen my T-bill ladder and put more money in 6 months T-bill every 2 weeks. So I don't want to have too much locked up in Singapore savings bonds. But of course, there are people who say, hey, but Singapore savings bond, you can always break it, right? And take the money out to buy shares. Yeah, of course you can do that. If you do that, then you redeem it this month, you get the money next month, right? So there are some people who use Singapore savings bonds as a way to store money that's meant for their war chest. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that personally, I think of it as a replacement for my CPF voluntary contribution. So I think of it more like the investment grade bond component of my portfolio, and it seems to make sense to me because it's long term in nature. You can hold it for 10 years, so it really mimics to a certain degree the CPF, and it mimics investment bond component in any investment portfolio. So because of that, I like to hold on to it, especially if it's offering a rather attractive 10-year average yield like the one that we are seeing this month. All right. And for anyone who's thinking, well, what if I were to break it after 1 year, that kind of thing, I won't be getting 3.3%. But for this Singapore savings bond, right, even if you were to break it after only holding for 1 or 2 years, you're still getting an interest or a coupon of 3.26% per annum, which is pretty good. Because if you look at 1 year fixed deposits from banks, right, you are not getting 3.26% per annum in most cases. In most cases, it'll be much lower. So this is pretty attractive, right? So even if you were to break it, all right, if you hold it for a full 10 years, you're only getting a bit more per annum, 3.3% versus 3.26% per annum. So I would say this Singapore savings bond is very good, and if we have been sitting on the fence, we might want to seriously consider parking some money in this Singapore savings bond, right? So $1.1 billion is what is being offered, and I fully expect this to be oversubscribed. But since I'm only applying for $16,000, I think I shouldn't have any problem being 100% allotted. So if AK can talk to himself, so can you. Bye-bye.